Hey guys, welcome to this question and answer session with the Pattern Trader. My name is Mark Shawzin. Be happy to take any questions you have. Um, I have been pretty consistent over the last several weeks talking about this second tier of the Nasdaq. And what I mean by the second tier, these are the stocks below Nasdaq. One tier stocks like Google, Facebook, um, Netflix, Amazon, Apple. Those are real companies with real earnings. They've got good multiples, and those are what are keeping the indexes supported at all-time high levels. But there is this second tier, the Beyond Meats, the QuantumScapes, the Peloton, the Zoom, even Tesla. These are companies with earnings well into the future, and I think you're going to see a huge multiple compression, which all that means is that prices are going to crash. So I've been pretty consistent talking about Zoom going much lower. Zoom broke through an 8-month low last week at $300, now trading about $285. Peloton was treading water around $100. Now it's trading around $80. My most favorite stock was QuantumScape. To me, this was the stock that had the most upside, the least risk shorting it. I've been shorting this stock since $41, and it went under $28 today. So Dan says, "Hey Mark, love your stuff, very informative." Hey Dan, thanks for that. High five. Let me know what you're trading. Let me know what you're interested in. As I was just saying, there's kind of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. What I mean is the second tier of the Nasdaq that I think is just going to get cratered. It's already down 50 to 80%, and I think you can take another haircut of another 50% off all of these stocks. So another one is Beyond Meat, BYND. Ever since it hit 200, I said this stock's going to $60, and I'm still sticking to my story. Hey Yoni, good to see you. Dan says I'm shorting Dogecoin, so I wanted to. I told my wife on Friday before Elon Musk's appearance that I wanted to short it, and missed that opportunity. After his appearance, Dogecoin dove 30%. I don't know what that's all about. He has a serious responsibility to shareholders. He's a CEO of some major companies. I know it's like to be, a cultural hero and whatnot, but there are all kinds of money, all kinds of people who are betting on Elon Musk just because he's a cult and a folk hero. And, I don't think it's a real joke where, 2 weeks ago he says, "I'm the Doge father," kind of hinting out that, he's all over Doge. And then on Saturday Night Live, he says it's just a joke. So, but, then again, he paid for his whole satellite rocket with Dogecoin. So we never know what's going on. But that's why you need to do your own homework. You need to not chase these FOMO things, get aboard things that you understand. And look, these cryptos, they keep going higher. I don't know how long they'll keep going higher. I don't understand them, so I just kind of play in markets that I understand. Shuhanda says I sold Nasdaq and S&P. Yeah, well, so Shuhandi, it's really a tale of two stories. The market. So today, like most other days, in the last couple of weeks, you see the Nasdaq kind of stalling out, going lower, the Dow going to all-time new highs. So it's really, I always say it's a market of stocks, not a stock market, because there are all kinds of stocks that are going higher, all kinds of stocks that are going lower, and you got to just kind of feel out where you want to play. You can't be everywhere. And that's why I've been focusing for weeks and weeks. I've been telling these guys, I've been telling my members, I've been sending newsletters out every week, saying that it's the second tier of NASDAQ stocks that I think are just going to get cratered. Now, we've already had a crash, although the Dow is at an all-time high today. If you look at, F-Cell or Plug Power or QuantumScape or Peloton or Zoom, even Tesla, you've already had a crash in the markets. So I think you're seeing this churning underneath the water, where these indexes are able to go to a new high. And it's actually pretty healthy, that the whole market doesn't crash just because there's a whole subsector of stocks that need to get washed out. So there is kind of this healthy purging every day where some stocks go and make all-time new highs, and some stocks make all-time new lows. And it's, I love to short stocks. I think gravity works. Markets go down faster than they go up. And I like to always find a niche where not everyone's focused on. So everyone's talking about the stock market's going to new high every day, and that's all fine. But I've been just quietly just banging away, shorting, Snowflake, shorting Airbnb, shorting DoorDash, shorting QuantumScape, shorting Zoom. Every day I just wait for these little, rallies, and I just short into them. And now they're just breaking apart. So QuantumScape just closed under a multi-year or multi-month low. There's just nothing. There's no support now with QuantumScape. This thing's going to 25, 22, 20, 18, 15, 6. I don't know. It's going lower. And I've just been, just holding a boatload of those short positions. QuantumScape is trading 28.80 right now. The low's 26.60. It's down 7% for the day. And not a shock to me. I said in my newsletter yesterday. I said it a week ago. I said it on webinars 3 weeks ago. I said this thing has no risk. And I know it's really reckless. I mean, I kind of harbor my own instincts. I harbor my own feelings. I trade my own money. I make or lose, and that's all well and good. But I realize I've, like Elon Musk, I've got a bit of a public responsibility. And whenever I go in these webinars and I say certain things, I realize that, but I meant it, so it's just one time I'm going to mean it and it's not going to work out. And so I'm happy to suffer the consequences of my trades. So you have to be accountable. So what else is going on? Let me know what you guys, Jiki says it's been a while. So last week I've had some surgeries, and then I had complications from surgeries. And last week I had to go to a whole bunch of doctor's appointments. So yeah, I wasn't around last week at GK. It's just because I've been having some personal setbacks here. But I've always got one eye on the market. I never stop trading. And so Dog says, what about XOM, which is Exxon? So this has been a huge stock on my radar since $28. Probably what's hit $63 today. We've got a huge run up in commodities. Look like we've got like this 1970s stagflation environment going to come up where you get stagnant economic activity combined with high inflation. So, oil stocks are running, copper stocks are running, Freeport McMoran, metal stocks are going higher. So it definitely looks like commodities are the place to hang out. Okay, GK. Well, I wish you well. So Yoni says, "What about pound New Zealand?" So this was a pair that was always heavily on my radar. It's kind of got into a kind of a deep funk here. I do expect it to resuscitate, and you can see at this 192, it just keeps on grabbing a foothold. I'm consistent. I think this thing is going to find a way to go higher, and probably a lot higher. I think you could probably buy it here. Again, the ranges, Yoni, are, as 300 pips a day. So I do expect that 190 to hold. It put in a bottom at 185, a double bottom in December at 185. I was consistent then. I'm pretty consistent now. That I think you've got these weekly patterns that indicate that over time this thing has got support, but it's been, really just a ruthless thing to trade. So, Yoni, if you want to, have a 500 pip stop and trade with a small lot size and add to it, I think you're going to see it above 2 again, and 210 and 220. I do think you're going to see a massive rally in pound New Zealand. And maybe, today, today's action, it's the beginning. There was a key reversal. Let me kind of get where. This was on the 16th. You had this reversal where you went to 191, right all the way back there and then close on the high of the day. And I think that has been keeping this range intact. And every time it gets to the bottom of this range around 192, it holds. So I do feel that you could buy this thing. It just, you got to have a stomach and a longer term outlook. But I think you're going to get 1,000 pip rally in pound New Zealand, maybe even more. You're always welcome, Yoni. I hope you're well. Hope your dad's well. Philippe says, what about DVN? And energy. This thing looks like it has a nice double bottom. There's a lot of resistance. There was a key reversal all the way back. When was it? I don't know what the date is. Let me just see if I can pull this up. About September 15th, there's a key reversal right at around $28. So I think that's where the resistance is. So it does seem to have a double bottom, but there's resistance in here. And I suspect if you haven't made your money, it's going to be choppy in here fully. JK wants to know about gold, XAU, USD. I don't know if you guys are on my accelerator program. I had a whole analysis on gold. To me, it's, kind of figuring out where to draw which chart. So, I always try and draw a boundary or a structure around prices. And for the last several months, the boundary on the long-term weekly was pretty easily. Gold was going in this ascending, broadening price pattern. It peaked out right at the top of the pattern at 2,100. And at that time, I said, we're going to the bottom of the pattern, which was anywhere between 1,650 and 1,700. And we hit right on the nose, 1,671. So, and we put a nice double bottom right at that support level. And it feels like that is a major low. But on the other hand, now you got to say, if this thing is bottom, now it's got to cut through all of the price action that it just came down from. It's got to cut through 1850. It's got to cut through 1950, 2000. So I don't know. I think it's going to be, it's a tough deal in gold. I think you also have this descending triangle. It broke through the bottom of the triangle, put this double bottom. Now you're trading at the top around the 1850. So we hit right around today where there's a lot of resistance. So I think you can just hang out in gold. I do think that it feels like a major bottom has been put in, but I don't know if it's going to be easy. So what I like finding charts that are easy. So when I saw like Zoom and QuantumScape sitting on 8-month lows last week, where they were very mature in the trend. They had done all the head fakes. They'd done all the work. Now they were ready to clean through these levels. And once they clean through them, there's like no support. So, I think, what was that on QuantumScape? It was like $31 or something. So what happened was QuantumScape had this triangle, this huge descending wedge triangle, and the bottom was at $40. And then you broke from 40 all the way down to 30. And then you came back and retested that breakout area around 40. So I love when you get a retest, and now we're failing because now we've made a new lower low. So now it's on. It's game on. It's over. There's nowhere for QuantumScape to hide. This thing's going lower. And, I've been saying that for a long time. But, for many months, it bumped between 50 and 60, kind of doing its thing. And that's what, patterns do. They show you where they want to go, but then they take a lot of time, to fake everybody out and get to the final destination. So the more work that a pattern is done, the more mature it is in its cycle, the easier it is when it's just ready to go. So we can understand the risk. We can understand the outcome. With gold, I don't know. It's, I don't know where to, put my risk. I don't know what the outcome is. So, I just, we'll let it hang out. I've been long gold since that double bottom. I thought it was a great area right on that support low of the ascending, broadening price pattern. And I've got a lot of profits in my position right now. Probably start taking some off. But I don't know. You're also, right at this 1850 level where, so you had this descending triangle, and whereas QuantumScape, went through the low of the descending triangle and is now going lower, gold had this descending triangle, put on this double bottom little, bear trap, and is now coming out it's kind of hitting that lower level of that resistance level around 1850. So anything above 1850 will start sending this higher. But I think there's a lot of resistance in here. So I think you can just hang out and watch gold and try and. So Edith says, I paid for your video, but I can't open it. So if you have any questions about admin, I'm just going to put our support team. Reach out to them. They'll answer all of your questions. The patterntrader.com. Hopefully I spelled that okay. So Edith, thanks for your question, and just send a message to our support team and they'll help you out. So Farron says QuantumScape is reporting May 11th. What is that? Tomorrow or something like that. So I expect whatever they have to say, the stock is just going to go in the direction that it's already headed. Philippe says, I found the stock DDD. It's the same pattern as QuantumScape, but the price is lower. So, I don't usually look at $30 stocks to try, look, I was looking at QuantumScape at 50 and 60. It was just that, this does look DDD, whatever this is, looks exactly like it. It really does. I don't know what that stock is, but it looks, so that's what I'm saying. You have the head and shoulders, just like you had QuantumScape. Then you had, the neckline where, the descending wedge where you came down on this, descending sloping thing. And then you had this common neckline around $22. And then you broke through that 22, you came and retested it. And now you're making all-time lows at $18. So, Philippe, that's a nice one. I'll check it out. Obviously, when you short something, it can only go to zero, right? So even shorting a $40 stock, look, I mean, if 40 goes to 20, that's 50% on your money. It's the same thing as shorting, Zoom at 300 and it going to 150. So that's why I really like QuantumScape. It had everything. It had every ingredient baked into the cake. I saw there was like no risk above 41, and that this had a pretty clear path to $20. So, if you make, I'm on leverage, substantial leverage. So, 50% move, I can make several 100%, and with very little risk. So those are trades you want to do all day long. They don't, happen all the time. And that's the thing with QuantumScape. It took 6-8 months for it to mature to get to this thing. And the thing is now, if you don't take advantage of it, the whole move can happen in 3 days or a week. So you wait 8 months and then it just kind of goes in 3-week period. And that's just the way it goes. But, that's why when you find something that's mature, like QuantumScape, or whatever the instrument is, the more mature, the more, banging, throughout the pattern it's done, once it's ready to go, then, it's a green light. So I like this DDD, Philippe. It's just, QuantumScape had a, room from 40 to 0. This has 20 to 0, but it doesn't matter. Percentages are percentages. If, this $20 stock drops to 15, you made 25% on your money, and with leverage a lot more. So to me, and it's also about risk and reward. So it's all about the setup. Where can you get in, for an identifiable risk, obviously as low as possible. Like, now this is a complete different thing from, pound New Zealand, where I think pound New Zealand is going higher. The question is, how much heat do you have to take before this thing gets going? It's been trading in 300-400 pip ranges. So very difficult to assess your risk. You have to, kind of take a much smaller position because the risk is so unquantifiable. Where with QuantumScape, I could take a much bigger position because I literally thought that there was no risk. And again, I hate keep on saying that, but at $41, I was saying to 500 people on a webinar, I said, I can't see any risk here. I can't even see this thing going $2 higher. So, if I don't have a $2 risk and a $40 downside, then you can kind of load up And that's kind of what I try and do. I try and find these little oysters, these little pearls, where the setup is mature, where you can get in, where you understand the risk is pretty low, and the trade off and the outcome is much higher. So to me, that's how you make money in the markets. You don't make money in the markets kind of banging it out, in the euro US dollar, trying to take 7 pips here, 12 pips there, 5 times a day. That'll, drain your batteries and drain your bank account. And what I try and do is find $40 stocks like Quantum and ride them like Zorro to 28, 25, 22, 18, and then go and look for the next trade like that. Michelle says, my broker blocked QuantumScape for shorting. So, yeah, I have another broker. I have several brokers, and I've tried to short it across the board in one of my brokers. So the mechanics of shorting a stock is that you need to borrow it from somebody else. Your broker needs to lend it to you. So they either have it in inventory where somebody else is trading and they can lend it to you, or they can go and get it from the clearinghouse. But sometimes the brokers won't do that. So there's a mechanics of shorting, and this is a kind of an obscure name. I made a whole bunch of money last week buying put options, which expired on Friday. I'm kind of pissed that I didn't roll them forward, because now it's going to get easy. Now it's just, falling out of bed, and now it's the easy part. So maybe on a rally, we've had like a 60-cent rally in QuantumScape right now. Maybe I'll take a look at buying some, put options later today. So, also watching Tesla right now. So a bunch of stocks, Nasdaq stocks, are sitting right on this long-term trend line. And every time they hit that trend line, they have a good bounce. But now Tesla is coming right back again to this trend line. And I suspect not going to hold this time. So I think there's going to be a whole lot of room, and I'm kind of pissed. I was waiting for a rally in Tesla today, and we're down $30 because we're going through this long-term neckline now. And I think that's just the kiss of death now. I think that's just a signal that Tesla and a bunch of these other NASDAQ stocks, Tesla's down, 30, 40% from the high, and I could see it getting cut in half again. Lutri wants to know Palantir. So, all those stocks are crap. They're all part of the ARK ETF, ARKK. Kathy Woods, I've been calling her a fraud for months now. And Palantir, has been one of these millennial stocks. Everybody kind of got on board this thing. Huge double top in January at the $45 area. It was over back then, and now it's just been, laying its epitaph for 6 months, and now it just broke under all-time, monthly lows today. So that's going to get cut in half from here probably. So all of these stocks are gone. Yoni wants to look at NVIDIA. Now that's, in the higher quality realm, but, I wouldn't rule this out from, paying the price too if the NASDAQ. So, again, we have this. I wish I could show you this chart. Maybe not the same uptrend line as the whole NASDAQ, but I'm looking at an uptrend line in NVIDIA, and we're basically right there. So if I draw, a trend line from the 460 low through like the low at 480, we're sitting right on this trend line right today. So yeah, there's, a lot of air under some of these long-term things. So we could, grab a little foothold here. I think NVIDIA is probably more of a quality company than other ones. Probably short Tesla before NVIDIA. We could see quite a pullback in that too. Next support looks like around 500. So, I think I would rather short something else, but wouldn't rule this out from collapsing. Sitting right on this trend line. So we'll see just how we kind of hold here if we grab a foothold. So yeah, NVIDIA, it's, it looks like it Could have been a bit of a bull trap at the 650 where it kind of got above a lot of resistance, Yoni, and now it's kind of sneaking underneath there. So, let's see what can happen here. Edith wants to look at Qualcomm, QCOM. And that looks, kind of like ugly too. It looks like it had a double top at 167, had a head and shoulders, has been kind of going sideways now. If it gets under 125, there's a lot of air. So I don't know. This Nasdaq looks like the air is about to be let out of the balloon. I came in short the QQQ. I bought some puts on Friday. I actually just closed them because I'm so tired of all the noise in the Nasdaq. Where I get short, I make money, and then they take it back. So I probably should have held it, but I got out. I took about double my money, on the morning opening here, and I'll probably look for a rally to, short these QQQs again because, I just think it looks like it's over. So Michelle says, I've been following you for about 2 months now. Incredible how you read the market like a book. Now, once I start applying the learnings I trade you suggest, I'm starting to make money. Good on you, Michelle. So I just try and be an observer. I, just stand back and try and see what price is telling me, not what these meatheads on the news, these analysts. I remember I was short Beyond Meat at 147 a couple of weeks ago. And an analyst came out and said, Beyond Meat's got all of these mergers with Coca-Cola and Kentucky Fried Chicken, and the prospects are looking great. And he put a $186 price tag. And I was saying, to those, members and anybody else, I said, I bet this gets to $86 before it gets to 186. I'll still stick with that too. Where's Beyond Meat? 103. So 200, I said this thing's going to $80. I'm probably wrong. I think it's going to go to 60 or 50. So that's over. That cut through a multi-year neckline at 113, on earnings last week, and that's gone. Zoom's gone. Peloton, is rallying a little bit today. You may see Peloton retest the breakout area around 100, but looks like it's going to go a lot lower. So JK says, what about Canadian yen? So kind of looking at these yen pairs, long euro yen. Canadian is the strongest currency on the board. So I've been short dollar Canadian for several weeks now. And so the Canadian is the strongest currency against, all others. So, not terribly surprising that Canadian yen is now testing its all-time highs around 91, or certainly back to 2018 highs. And let me just kind of put it bigger. So these yen pairs, they've been in a long-term downtrend, but they're looking like they're swinging out of this thing. So I don't know if you're going to get a trap here. I keep on waiting for these yen pairs, but I don't know. The path of least resistance right now in these yen pairs is higher. Yoni says pound yen shot up past resistance. So what doesn't go down, it's going high. So I'm looking at the monthly resistance in pound yen. We're almost there. So next resistance is about 157, just shy of 157, about 300 pips. And that was in February of 2018. So it looks like, we could have a little bumpy ride for the next 200-300 pips. And then there's just blue sky above here, till about 195. So I think there's a huge opportunity in these yen pairs. The yen is slowly weakening. Phil says, do you ever trade with weekly pivot points? Well, Phil, like I said, I'm watching the monthly and the weekly resistance in pound yen. So I don't know if you want to call that a pivot point. Certainly markets respect levels of resistance, that they've sold off from in the past. So I don't know if I trade them per se. I watch them. I'm aware of them. For me, it's all about what is. So any instrument I open up, I try and with pound yen, it's been kind of going back and forth. Some of these things are a little bit indiscriminate, harder to figure out than others. But even if it's harder, you can usually drill down and see a guiding, or what I call a governing price pattern. And what I mean by governing price pattern is that this pattern is going to govern or dictate the future trajectory. Now, that doesn't mean something's going to go straight up or straight down, but once you kind of understand what the drill is, what the governing pattern is, like pound New Zealand, that's been very all over the place kind of pair. But to my mind, I always kind of buy it when it comes into these support areas, because I think the governing weekly, monthly patterns, suggest that there, is on balance support here. So, yeah, and then once I understand the trend, the price pattern, then I try and drill it down to a certain set of days or one day, key reversal, inside bar, whatever it is. So I remember when I said that QuantumScape had no risk. It had kind of had a key reversal from, I don't know, $43 to $40 that day. When it went higher, closed on the low of the day. And, I surmised that all the risk was taken out. So sometimes when the market goes higher and fails, those people did you a favor. They showed you where, there's no buyers, at a certain point. Conversely, if you're looking to buy something, if they do a key reversal where you make a new low and close on the high, those traders showed you that there's no more selling down there. So, but I don't look at I look at everything in context with a bigger picture. Try and put one piece on top of the other to get you closer and closer to the bullseye of a high probability trade. So we've already had a pretty good rally in QuantumScape. I probably will start maybe selling short into this at some point, buying some options or what have you. Always this period of the day from 11 a.m. Eastern to like 2 p.m. Eastern, it's kind of a dead zone. I try not to trade in that area. And, I've got a short position in QuantumScape. I'm just going to keep it. But if they, keep giving me rallies, I'll short it. Like last week, I was actually doing an interview. I'll have the link. Hopefully some podcaster reached out to me, asked me if I would, sit down for an interview. And at the start of the interview, I told him I was short QuantumScape, and QuantumScape was trading about $30. And I had a massive short position. I had like 60,000 shares short in one account. I was long puts in another account. So I was long, short about 100,000 shares of QuantumScape. And during about hour and a half, interview, QuantumScape rallied from $30 to $31.40. And I told the guy that he cost me $140,000. But I said, instead of sending him a tab, I actually just shorted into that rally. Actually, it rallied next day. It went to about $32, and I just shorted reflexively into that. Now we're trading at 29. So, once you kind of understand or feel like you understand where, something is, then, the market does offer you little, opportunities where these counter trend trades, where QuantumScape has rallied from 28.60 to 29.30. And to me, that's just a phony rally. It's just going to go lower. Michelle says, what do you think about Tilray? TLRY, I believe, right? Yeah, that looks horrible too. Whenever you see these parabolic moves, it went from 0 to 67, and now it's back to 15. The air's out of the balloon. It's over, and now you just kind of got this descending wedge triangle. You're breaking the lower levels, and it just it may continue to go sideways, but I would not buy this at all. Peloton, is this a shorting rally? Probably. I mean, everything has its own cadence. So today, Peloton is kind of rallying when the rest of the market is. They just had such a sell-off last week, so it's probably just. Yeah, I kind of never like to see this where you have these two reversals right at the $80. So we'll have to see how we close today. So as it stands now, 2 days ago, it went to a low, kind of closed at the high. Today we went at the low and we're closing at the high. Now, the whole pattern is overall bearish, but, this current price action, suggests that, I wouldn't step in front of it. So I look at a combination of price patterns and price action and try not to fight the market. And so I would just wait until this kind of goes up, sorts itself out, does another key reversal, made a new high, close on the low, look for another setup. Right now, it looks like you're kind of grabbing foothold at this low here. So I would kind of just stay out of this. If you're short, maybe cover. And but it's all about the close. So right now we're trading at the high end of the daily range, but we still got 4+ hours to go. So I would have to wait till the close to see here, but it looks like it's trying to find some support in this area. So somebody else found a mirror image of QuantumScape. They're all mirror images of each other. They're all kind of tracing the same, kind of pattern. So this is Teledoc. And what's nicer about this is that there's a lot more room for it to fall. A $20 stock can only go to $20. A $142 stock like this can go, get cut in half. But it's all about percentages, right? So if QuantumScape drops from, 40 to 20, it's the same thing as this dropping from 300 to 150, which is basically done. So yeah, this looks, a lot of these stocks are looking just horrible. Teledoc really does. I mean, there's just one piece of support right around last April where the low was about 135. There's a little mini support area here. But I'd have to say on balance, this looks terrible, looks really bearish. It's actually a head and shoulders with a drooping neckline because the right shoulder is lower than the left, Bolshevik. So, and we're just cutting through the neckline now. So, yeah, I hate kind of chasing things, but this has broken through some lows and, you could probably take a peek at the short side now. Certainly I would look at, any kind of rally at getting short here, but that's a good, that's a really good trade. It's a really nice looking bear price pattern. So they kind of all look like this. It kind of gets boring. I mean, it's like, and I guess that's it. I mean, it's all been going tracing. So, the market's all about fear and greed, and it goes through its cycles. And over time, it produces, a pattern where more people are getting in than getting out, or more people are getting out than getting in. And like I said, this second tier of Nasdaq stocks, I've been watching for 4 or 5 months, and I just see these patterns. I saw, QuantumScape create this bear price pattern all the way back in December, and I knew back in December it was over. It just had to do its thing before the final epitaph gets written. So, all of these stocks now are, going through the same thing where they had all of their revenues in the corona when everybody was down and using office. And now we got the reopening and things are going to change. So now, people are going into travel or real estate and, different things. And now the market's getting more risky. So now you're getting into the more industrials, the cyclicals, the more, boring parts of the thing. I put out a stock, WRK, 2 months ago. It was at $49 and now it's at $60. So a lot of stocks are going up. A lot of stocks are going down. And you just kind of got to figure out where you want to play. And, I just figured that the market had gone up so much that, it's going to pull back. And then the second tier, they're just overvalued. They went to, multiples, 800,000 times earnings. and that was great while they were in the peak of their earnings, like Peloton and Zoom, when everybody was at home. And now you're going to see decelerating cash flows. You're going to see higher interest rates. So you're going to have what's called multiple compression. And that's just a fancy terminology for saying that prices are going lower. And then it's always, you got to use your imagination. It's always amazing when, stocks like Beyond Meat are 200 and I say they're going to 80 or 50. It sounds crazy at the time. But here we are, the doorstep, 103 on Beyond Meat the last time I looked. And next stop is, 90, 80, 70, 60, 50. Liv T says, how do you determine the target price? So sometimes you can do a measurement from the neckline to the peak of a pattern and subtract that off the neckline by some arbitrary 60, 75. So for instance, like Zoom, the bottom of the neckline around 300 to the top of the peak, about 588, that's $288. So let's say you take 60% of that and then you shave it off the neckline or, of 300, you come to a lot lower price. It's sometimes the size of the pattern. So these have staked out very large, huge patterns. Like Beyond Meat, it had a neckline at 113. The old top was around 195. New one went to about 218. So call that, $80. And let's say you take 75% of that. So you shave $60 off, the 113 neckline, and you come to a price of around $60, $70. So it's always incredible when you see these things. But I've learned, I've been around this game long enough to respect, what price tells you. It has a way of doing it, finding it, finding that discovery. So it looks like I missed my opportunity to short QuantumScape. It briefly got to about 29.40, and now it's kind of coming back down to 29. So, I got really conservative today. I've been banging it hard every day, adding to my position, and today I just left it alone. And today it's just falling out of bed. But I've got a huge position, and I've made, almost 7 figures on QuantumScape in the last month. And I think there's, a lot to go. So I really want to find a place to get short Tesla. I'm kind of miffed that I missed that today. I think it's going through a very important neckline now. And now I think it's it could really get detonated along with, everything else we've been talking about. So Bolshevik said, in December, YouTube trade gurus were shouting about to buy QuantumScape at $70 with a thesis that the Biden administration will go to 140. And that's what I always say, you cannot buy stories. So the huge story, as it will be for the next, 10, 20, 30 years is this EV space, electric vehicle. And you had all of these, little companies like QuantumScape, like F-Cell, like Plug Power, like Ballard Power, like Blink Power. All of these things look like, they were going to play in this space, and, the space was just going to expand. So who wouldn't have thunk that these things are just going to, go much higher? Meantime, they're all like 70% off their highs. So you cannot buy a story. You have to understand what you're getting into. Even gold. There's so much hype about gold now, inflation, the dollar going down. Reflexively, I want to, be in gold, but it's you got to be careful. There is a pattern there. There is price action, but it's also it always comes down to risk and reward. Whatever the story is, if you can justify the story, if you can see, a quantifiable risk for a justifiable outcome, then that's fine. And if there's a story to push it, then that's great. And sometimes these stories like Plug Power and F-Cell, they push these things, where these things went up 5 times. And so sometimes, you just want to hop aboard that momentum. But when it changes, you can't get married to that and just say, well, this space has got so much room to grow. It's just starting. I'm just going to stick with my position. So Philippe says, taking Peloton as an example, if you were short now, would you write it down until a well-defined pattern tells you to cash out? Or would you go out as soon as there's a resistance or re-enter? It's a hard thing to answer, Philippe. So right now, as I said, the interim price action on Peloton, we'll see how it closes today. But whenever something has a little reversal, it can just create a mini support area. So yes, I think Peloton is going lower, but then I have to see risk reward. And right now I'm just seeing some funky action where there's a lot of money to be made. So you're kind of getting this key reversal today, right at this $80 area. It may not mean anything, but let's just see. But I think Peloton's going a lot lower long term. So Mustafa says he shorted. So Mustafa, that must be adding to your trade, because I know you've been shorting that all the way down, hopefully. And if that's the case, then you should be making some good money. Yeah, I think. Look, you can short into these names. Edith wants to know the LAZR. It's already at $20. Again, when you short something, you want to make sure that there's room, to short it. Yeah. Yeah, it looks terrible. But it's kind of got this funky support area here. So yeah, I think it does go down long term. So look, everything in the Nasdaq looks like it's coming down. And then it just comes down to, and sometimes it's hard for me to even explain it to myself. Why did I grasp so readily onto QuantumScape at $40 and Zoom, where, like Peloton perhaps is a little bit more I wouldn't say problematic, but different. It's very hard. So it's all about the look of the setup, where there's, like recently there was kind of a rounding top in Peloton where, not Peloton, in QuantumScape, where you broke out of that neckline at $40, you went to $30, and then you came and retested it. And there were a couple of days where it was just like little inside bar days, mini reversals. Now those reversals kind of look like nothing, but to me those were like little double tops with little reversals at that $37 area. And then you had another inside day. And right there again, that little setup within the cadence of the whole thing, I just said, I'm just going to load up to the sky here. Because I just couldn't see, and that little resistance now it's just rolled from that 37 down to 27. So sometimes there's just, within the cadence of the downtrend, the patterns, then it puts on a few bars where, you get closer and closer to identifying that sweet spot. And, like now Peloton, I think it's going to go down, but it's not a sweet spot the way it's playing right now. It's more convoluted. It's more complex. So why am I going to fight that? I'm just going to move on and find Zoom, short into Tesla, do something else. Even Zoom is kind of in this area where it came down to an area. It came last week, and this thing looks so bad. So it could just find a little support here. But these things are just about to go off a cliff here. Mohammed wants to know about New Zealand yen. Yeah, so all these yen pairs, path of least resistance, it looks like it's got this most recent pattern as an inverted head and shoulders. You've got all of this price history to the left here, but it's at this point, I think you just got to be a believer in this this trend. I think this weakening trend in the yen. The only question is dollar yen, and based on the recent weakening of the yen, I mean, kind of skeptical playing dollar yen, but this could be a great setup in the dollar yen. Every time the dollar yen is peaked up to this descending wedge, resistance line, it's, come down to the 102, 100 area. So this could be, another area where you can get short dollar yen too. So it's kind of be a race to the bottom, which is weaker, the dollar or the yen. So right now the dollar is probably a little weaker than the yen. But yeah, so the dollar yen looks like an interesting place to get short also. So Mustafa says, yes, after one of my webinars, he shorted QuantumScape at $41. I remember it was on a Wednesday. And I just, I was telling people that there's no risk here. And I guess Mustafa took that thing and he's made a 50% return since there. Yeah, and you could probably add and get another 50% return from here. Foxa, Bolshevik, FOXA. Interesting. Yeah, this does look like it has some support. So yeah, there are stocks out there that, yeah, it looks interesting. It does look like it's breaking out of a bit of a bottom. How far it'll extend, where it'll catch resistance, not altogether clear, but you could take a shot on that. So like I said, I mean, in the last 3 months especially, previous to that, the stock markets were going straight up, dollar was going straight down. There was certain things that you could just hop on board. Last 3 months, you've had so much countervailing trends. Are we going to get inflation? What's the effects of stimulus? What's the effect of Fed interest rate policy? And then within the stock market, every day you get a rotation. Today, growth is out, and industrials in. Tomorrow, growth will be back, and they'll have the story. Is it too late? Is it should we start buying growth again? And is cyclicals topping out? So we get the growth, momentum, value, growth, and back again. So I think you just got to find a sweet spot that you can understand risk and reward, and that goes anytime, but especially now. Where it's not so clear. Pound New Zealand, is going to go higher, but you've got to take these 500 pip swings. So I just try and find, a place where I can feel comfortable. I love WRK, thought that the risk reward on that was phenomenal, even though it went sideways for 2 months, from, 50 to 54, went sideways for 2 months. Eventually we broke out to all-time new highs, which, I said it was going to do. And you probably got another $10 on that stock. So it just depends where you want to play and what the risk reward is. And it kind of drives me crazy because I see a lot of shiny objects you want to chase. And that's the thing really to be careful of in trading, chasing the momentum, chasing the recent, FOMO, the recent, action, and just always trying to drill it down to risk and reward. If you can kind of drill it down to the closest. So even like this 20th Century Fox, Bolshevik, yeah, it looks like there's a shape of a bottom, but now I'd like to see a couple of bars, there where I can kind of, understand my risk and reward, and the risk should, justify the reward should justify the risk. So if you see, a $5 upside on this thing, and you can get in there for a $2 risk, that's those are good trades. GK wants to look at, Yoni says, so let me get to a GK and then I'll get to Yoni, and then I'll call it a day there. So Euro Pound, again, that's kind of a funkier. So with all the things that you want to, play in and choose, you want to choose things that are going to move. Euro Pound plays in this huge linear price level. Once in a while it goes above it, once in a while it goes below it, and if you didn't catch it, now it's 3 weeks back or 3 months back in the same thing. So I don't know. It's a pick 'em in Euro Pound. One day I think it's going higher, the next day I think it's going lower. It does look like it's starting to get heavy, that there's a lot of this rolling resistance. But I don't know, of all the things to play right now, where to put your money, how to allocate your time. And that's the thing, to me, I want to take advantage of markets that are going up, going down. I really don't want to play in markets that are going sideways. That's not my game. I'm not trying to duke it out for the next 40 pips on, a 3-hour bar or something like that. So I've been short QuantumScape. I'm talking to you guys. I'm not even watching it. Goes up today, it goes up. I'll just short more. So I just like to camp out in things that I feel comfortable in, and that there's a direction, that there's a path from one level to the other. And then once that path is exhausted, then I'll go and hop on board the next one. Yoni, I think, I looked at the QQQs going into this week. I bought some puts last week on Friday, just because I think that you look like you have this double top at the 342 area. And then Friday, you had this little key reversal. You gapped higher, but you kind of closed on the low of the bar. So I kind of speculated that you have this kind of reversal pattern there. You had this key reversal, even though it was a gap higher, even though it closed higher on the day. I bought the QQQ puts right on the close. I bought the 128s for about $1. And I blew it out for, I think, at least a double of that today. And I'll probably look for some kind of rally here again and, load it. Now, there was a month or so ago, Yoni, I don't know if you were on my webinars or so, I was like dead sure. I saw 4 patterns simultaneously, 4 bear price patterns simultaneously on the QQQs when it was at about 335. That was on February 19th. It was, after one of my master pattern trader sessions, where I kind of went through that the QQQs were an ascending, broadening price pattern. Then they had a double top. Then they had a head and shoulders, and they had an island top, because they had 2 gaps on either side of the QQQs. And so it was like 4 bear price patterns coming, together at one point. And I just, kind of went nuts that day. That Friday, I loaded up on the 320 put options that expired the following week. Remember, it was trading at 334, so this thing had to drop, 14% for me to, make money. And the next week I went to 310. Those options I paid $1 for went to 10. I got out between 6 and 8 on those put options. So are we looking at something now? Maybe. I'm seeing definitely, this double top at this 340. Now you're kind of in this, kind of area last week where you've got some lows lower. So whenever you got some lows underneath there, it's not really clean. You're likely to get a lot of back and forth. But I think we're getting closer to something. Like I said, if you look at the QQQs, if you look at ARK Financial, if you look at Tesla, they're all hanging on by a thread. They're all hanging on by this very long uptrend line that's been in place for, 8 months or something. And they've all, every time they've come to the support line, they've supported and then found another good move off there. Now they're retesting it again. And I think the jig's up. I don't think you're going to get that lift again, that support. So I think it's, but, in here, so I kind of felt stupid. I got rid of my put options this morning, only because I'm so used to having profits and then, it taking it back, because there's such, huge churn in the indexes. So I've been doing less and less of the indexes and more of the QuantumScapes and the Zooms and the direct stocks that I like to short. Like I said, the indexes have been masked and kept near their highs by, these first tier stocks, Apple, Netflix, Microsoft. These are good. These are strong companies they're real. And so they've been keeping the indexes hovering at the highs, masking what's been going on there. So I've been playing in this, backwater and this, the swamp area of the Nasdaq. But, I took a little shot at the QQQs, and I imagine increasingly I'll start looking at the indexes for, a place to, to take a ride. And, if we get another rally a little bit now, I'll take a look at shorting them perhaps later today. All right, guys. Swim says, Thank you. Love your straightforward thinking. So thank you guys. Have a healthy and prosperous trading day. And I'll try and check in with you tomorrow. Take care.